Welcome to Beach House. The wind howled as the car screeched to a halt in front of the old beach house. A figure stood on the porch, motionless, watching as the group of friends emerged hesitantly. No one had noticed him at first. It wasn't until the car doors slammed shut that the figure turned and vanished into the shadows of the house, as though he had never been there. Mira was the first to feel the unease creep over her. "Are you sure this is the right place?" she asked, her voice trembling. The house looked nothing like the cozy retreat they had seen in the listing. Instead, it loomed before them, its peeling paint and cracked windows whispering secrets of abandonment and decay. "Relax," Adil said, with forced cheerfulness, lugging his duffel bag out of the trunk. "It's just an old house. We'll fix it up and make it fun." Rania, scrolling through her phone, frowned. "There's no signal here. That's not in the brochure." She glanced at the darkening sky, her unease mirroring Mira's. "We'll be fine," Umar interjected. "It's just for one weekend. Besides, how often do we get to hang out together? Let's not ruin it with bad vibes." The friends reluctantly made their way inside. The heavy front door creaked loudly as they pushed it open, revealing a grand but dilapidated interior. The air inside was stale, carrying a faint metallic tang. A chandelier hung precariously from the ceiling, its crystals refracting the dim light from their flashlights. As they explored, they noticed strange details. The furniture was coated in dust, but there were fresh footprints leading toward the staircase. Mira stopped abruptly, pointing at the marks. "Who else is here?" she whispered. "It's probably just the caretaker," Adil reasoned, but his voice lacked conviction. They moved deeper into the house, finding a kitchen filled with outdated appliances and a parlor adorned with faded paintings. One of the paintings caught Rania's attention, a woman with hollow eyes standing by a beach. She looked out of place, her expression eerily lifelike. "This is creepy," Rania muttered, backing away from the portrait. As night fell, they gathered in the living room, lighting candles to ward off the growing shadows. The fireplace roared to life after Umar struggled to get it started. For a while, the group tried to shake off the strange vibe by sharing stories and laughing nervously. But the peace didn't last. Around midnight, Mira, who had gone to fetch more candles, didn't return. Adil called out for her, but the only response was the whispering wind seeping through the cracks in the walls. They found her standing in the hallway, staring at the woman in the painting. "Mira," Umar called softly, touching her shoulder. She flinched as if waking from a trance. "She was crying," Mira stammered, her face pale. "The woman in the painting. I swear I saw her crying." Adil laughed nervously. "You're just tired. Let's get some sleep." That night, none of them slept well. Rania woke up to the sound of soft footsteps outside her room. She opened the door to find no one there, but the faint sound of waves crashing against the shore echoed through the hallway. The ocean was miles away. Meanwhile, Umar dreamed of a child calling for help. The cries led him to a locked door in the house. In the dream, he tried to open it, but the handle burned his hand. He woke up sweating, the sound of the child's cries still ringing in his ears. The next morning, they discovered something horrifying. The painting of the woman was missing from the parlor wall. In its place was an empty frame, the edges of the canvas torn and frayed. "Who took it?" Rania demanded, her voice trembling. "No one went downstairs last night," Adil said, his face pale. "It's impossible." Their arguments were interrupted by the sound of a door slamming shut. The friends ran to the source, a small storage room under the stairs. The door was locked, but the faint sound of someone humming could be heard from the other side. Umar's face turned ashen. "That's the tune from my dream," he whispered. Adil forced the door open, but the room was empty except for a single chair facing the wall. On the floor was the torn painting, the woman's face now completely missing from the canvas. "We're leaving," Mira declared, her voice shaking. "This place isn't safe." But when they reached the car, the tires were slashed and the engine wouldn't start. Their phones still had no signal. Trapped, they returned to the house hoping to find answers. As they explored further, they found a journal in the attic. It belonged to the previous owner, a man named Elijah. The entries became increasingly erratic, describing visions of a woman who lived in the walls and whispered to him at night. The last entry read, "She won't let me leave. She needs more." The group stared at one another in horror. "More what?" Remy asked, her voice barely a whisper. A sudden crash from downstairs made them jump. They raced to the source, a shattered mirror in the hall. In the fragments, they saw their reflections, but something was wrong. Mira's reflection was smiling, even though her face was frozen in terror. "What's happening?" she called, backing away from the glass. That night, the storm outside grew violent, with rain lashing against the windows and thunder shaking the walls. The group huddled in the living room, but the sense of dread only deepened. Every sound seemed amplified. The creak of the floorboards, the whisper of the wind, the faint hum of the waves. At precisely midnight, the power cut out, plunging the house into darkness. Adil lit a candle, his hands shaking, but the flickering light only made the shadows dance more easily. Then came the knock, slow, deliberate, echoing through the silent house. It came from the front door. "Who would be here at this hour?" Rania whispered, clutching Mira's arm. "Don't open it," Umar said firmly, but Adil was already moving toward the door. He opened it to reveal nothing. No one stood outside, but the wind carried a whisper into the house. "Welcome back." When Adil turned around, his face was pale. There's something out there," he stammered, closing the door. But it wasn't the outside they needed to fear. Behind them, the shadows on the walls seemed to shift and stretch, forming figures that watched silently. The humming started again, louder this time, filling the house with an unbearable tension. And then Mira screamed. They turned to see her being pulled toward the hallway by an invisible force. Adil and Umar grabbed her arms, but whatever was pulling her was stronger. Her terrified screams echoed as she disappeared into the darkness. The group stumbled back, panting and in shock. "We have to get out," Umar said. "Now." But as they turned to leave, the front door slammed shut on its own. The windows were suddenly boarded up, the nails embedding themselves into the wood as if driven by an unseen hand. A voice echoed through the house, soft but chilling. "You can't leave. Not yet." The friends froze, their eyes darting around the room. The shadows on the walls began to move again, taking on grotesque forms. One by one, the candles extinguished, plunging the room into from the pitch-black void, the woman's voice whispered, "Welcome to my house."